Love it. Hello and welcome to the Pro Tour Yokohama semifinals. I'm Randy Buehler. I'm here with Brian David Marshall, and we are ready for a semifinal matchup between two constructed superstars. Guillaume Wafotapa has been building decks that have been played in PTQs, Friday Night Magic, Premier events around the world consistently for the last 2 years. First onto the scene in Honolulu, built the Draw-New deck that defined standard ever since Worlds. He's finally broke through with an individual top 8. He's been doing well, broke through to the top 8. He's through to the semifinals. His opponent is Mark Herberholz. Speaking of Honolulu, Herberholz won that tournament. Meanwhile, he's got top 8s at Philadelphia. He had a top 8 in Limited at San Diego. It's now his 4th top 8. And, he gets his own version of this control match. What do you think of the two decks? What's the deck matchup? What are the differences here?
The big differences here is the fact that Herberholz has, I think, the much better game. Game one is pretty even.
Yeah, they're both blue-black, arcane, or mystical teachings. I've got a package of one-ofs that I can tutor up. I've got a Teferi. I've got a bunch of damnations. Superficially, pretty similar decks. But playing a mirror matchup like this, it's going to come down to the very small differences.
And the small differences are more Urzur's Factories for Herberholz, more extra pates after sideboard for Herberholz.
Okay.
Pull from Eternity and Detravor are going to be big cards in both matchups. I was talking to Mark. He said, hey, you know what? If someone sticks a Detravor and the other guy doesn't have a Pull from Eternity, it could be a lot of trouble.
Okay. Guillaume seemed pretty, like he understood what was going on. He kind of wishes he built his sideboard a little more anti-control. I think it's to Herberholz's credit that his deck is capable of being sideboarded into both an effective anti-aggro deck and an anti-control deck. Wafotapa's a little more specialized against control, so that could hurt him here, but it's still close, and they're still both great players. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's. I think the edge goes to Herberholz. I don't think you can look at a matchup where it's two such similar decks that it's going to be overwhelmingly one player's favor or the other. Mm-hmm. But the extra page seemed to me to be where the match is going to fall. It's just he can remove all the counter spells. You know, he can also get if Wafotapa does anything odd with his sideboard plan. He has an extra page he can just burn early to
find out about it.
Print screen his deck.
Both players playing coming out of the gates pretty quickly here.
Wow, there's a ton of land in play already.
Yeah, no, it's nice. Given that this is control and control, I'm happy with the speed that they're playing. 2 prismatic lenses and 5 lands for Wafotapa. Herberholz has 5 lands and 1 prismatic lens. It's also got a storage counter. So 2 storage counters.
Historically, a matchup like this is your specialty, right?
I mean, I like it. I mean, control on control is kind of an acquired taste, but I find it fascinating. I mean, I think it's really interesting because the very subtle things matter, right? You have to know, okay, it kind of is a land war, so you just want to keep playing land and not actually casting a spell, because if you make the first move, now your opponent can counter, untap, sneak something through. You really don't want to blink first if you can help it, and that's, yeah, sure. I liked playing these matchups back when I was playing. I find it interesting to watch these matchups, too. See, here you see Herberholz at the end of Wafotapa's turn, so he can get out of Mystical Teachings. Wafotapa doesn't necessarily want to fight that, because then he'll be tapped on Mark's turn.
What do you think of the storage lanes? How would you have liked those cards when you were playing playing your do nothing blue decks?
Yeah, they're pretty powerful. I mean, they definitely give you the ability to play a bunch of spells. I mean, both players have them, so. It's funny. I bet I would have been complaining about it back when I was a player. This feels like this random thing that, like, if one guy gets more storage lanes than the other, it just gives them an advantage, right? Teachings for teachings, says Mark Herberholz.
He's going to get the card
investing
advantage.
in the long-term card advantage plan. Sure. Yep. Wafotapa's hand seems to be full of creature removal. Does have 1 cancel, but then he's got the -4/-4 and damnation.
Yeah, it's going to be who draws the fewest creature removal spells.
Could be. How many creatures do these guys have?
Let's see. Mark Herberholz has the 1 Teferi, the 2 Welks, the 2 Chroniclers. And then,
Wafotapa's got a Nurse's Factory already. Brings out a 2-2.
Right, and then they have as many tokens as they can make.
Right.
We've got two Teferis, 2 Aeon Chroniclers, 2 Welks, and then the Triskelevis with the
Academy Ruins.
With the Academy Ruins plan. That's one card that Wafatapa seems to regret in his deck. He would have liked to actually have had the Academy Ruins be another factory.
Yeah.
I also got that from Tsuyoshi Fujita, who had the mono blue deck we talked about, and he had 1 Academy Ruins for his serrated arrows, and he said that that's the only card he regretted in the entire deck.
Okay.
Was the Academy Ruins, and he felt that should have been
another factory.
And really feels like that may have been even the difference in his tournament.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, how about Tsuyoshi Fujita? He's on the Hall of Fame ballot this year. He's been playing forever, and he's still just innovating and showing up with crazy decks. And I just love the way the guy clearly thinks for himself.
Right.
And comes up with just this cake on the field that's just seemingly out of nowhere.
Thinks for himself and Marita.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Marita was also playing for the top 8 with that deck in the final round.
It's true. Marita was playing for it in the final round. Tsuyoshi was still playing for it with 2 rounds to go.
So I saw Greg Collins diligently typing up the top 50, 60 deck lists from the tournament.
Oh, awesome.
So, people will be able to go back, look at all those decks. They can see what Fujita was playing.
Yeah.
Start to build out a framework of the format for the PTQs. Obviously, everything's going to change with Future Sight, but you still have a base.
How much mana does he have left over to defend this with? That's haunting him, right?
That is haunting him.
Just off storage lands? Or is he teaching it up? I'm confused. No, he's... Alright. Clearly Wafotapo doesn't want this haunting him to resolve. So he's going to teachings as a response.
Goes and gets a cancel.
So teachings is up a cancel. Points to cancel at the haunting him. Yeah, there's a cancel back. Knew that was coming. And Guillaume, of course. Does Heezy have one last answer? Yes. Wow, so haunting him is going to resolve. Guillaume is going to lose his entire hand. Which not that much.
Sudden death and damnation, his hand was kind of already gone.
Yeah, but now Heezy knows that, right? That's the huge part here is the information that Heezy gets. He baited out 2 counters and
that's true.
Knows the coast is clear. Now, what can Mark do to punish him?
Mark really needs to find a Trinivore and get rid of that.
Does he have any in the main? It was just
no, I'm sorry. You're right. I guess he has to find his Urza's factory.
Basically. Yeah, not a lot in Mark's hand. He's got Pull from Eternity, which doesn't do anything here. He's got Sudden Death.
There's going to be a lot of clumsy draws in this game 1, just in terms of cards that just... Again, we talked about the absence of white weenie, but people have all these cards that are just for the aggro decks.
All right. Well, meanwhile, let's go down to the floor and get Rich Hagon to give us an update on Game 1 between Tomohiro Saito and Kazuya Mitamura.
Hey, Randy. Tomohiro Saito is 1-0 up.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah, very quick. First Timbermare, it resolves. Next turn, second Timbermare, cancelled. Next turn, third Timbermare, resolves. Damnation from Mitamura. Okay, you think stabilized, but he's on 4 life, untap, Stormbind, 2 cards in hand. Good game.
Wow. Tomohiro Saito takes a blistering 1-0 lead. Saito playing, what did he call this deck? Pizza Stompy?
Pizza Stompy.
So Herb Holtz won the first little permission battle here. He managed to clear Guillaume Wafotapa's hand. The problem is there's an Urza's factory over there, and Heezy didn't really have anything to follow up with.
And there's a Mystical Teaching still, he ends that fight with the Mystical Teachings in his yard also, so he can...
What's Guillaume going to go get? Teachings for Teachings.
Yep.
Invest.
Start rebuilding his hand. He's got 4 careful considerations also in his deck, so... He did that main phase.
Yeah, he wanted to take the opportunity while Heezy was tapped out. Mark plays yet another land. Oh, Guillaume drew Aeon Chronicler. And cancel off the top of Guillaume's deck. Herbert holds now to 14. So somehow Guillaume seems to be winning this game. He lost the big counter war. It's just all Urza's Factory. It's just that relevant. One guy's got one and the other doesn't. And Mark is going to flash back at teachings. Does he need to go get careful consideration or something that can get him back in the...
Go get extra pay? Yep.
Goes to get extra paid. So what's he gonna? Is he gonna use it immediately? What does he want to go get?
He can hit the mystical teachings.
Is there one in the yard? Isn't there one in hand and one RFG?
There's one RFG.
It's all the more reason for Guillaume to take the opportunity to flash back that teachings.
Yeah.
Right. While Mark's tapped out, he can't split second out an extra paid or.
He can. How many? We have 2 cancels in the yard. He can hit the cancels. That's what he's been doing.
Sure.
Make sure all of his subsequent spells for the rest of the game stick.
Is that careful consideration? Okay, Mark had one in hand. Now these guys both have a full package of 4 cancels. I saw a lot of people playing Dismal Failures over the course of the weekend. How many Dismal Failures do these guys have?
I don't think that there are any in. I don't believe there are
Mark
any
has
in
one.
Mark's.
Does Mark
in
have
Mark's
one on
main
the
deck, he
board?
has 1 in the board.
And none in the main. So his permission is 4 cancels and a couple of draining welks. Is Guillaume exactly the same?
Yeah.
It's actually striking to me how many similar conclusions these guys came to.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
they did
very,
not
very
work
close.
together. I mean, it seems like, Herbert Holtz had Gabe Nassif on his team. I mean, the other guys are French. I don't think Gabe worked with both teams. I think Gabe was just over on the Heasy team. And both teams came to very similar conclusions about the format. So Herbert Holtz has been digging with careful consideration. Getting attacked by 2/2s.
Yeah, this is like an outpost battle right now.
Yeah, it really is.
You have to wrath away and reset the board. And really, the only answer he's going to have is to find his own outpost.
Yeah, that's the only answer to the main deck. Should have put political trickery on the bonus sheet.
Or what was the artifact that lands with abilities don't untap?
Herbert Holtz does indeed go for the extra pates. Looks like he pointed at cancel, and he's going to get 1 for his troubles, right?
Yep.
Gets a cancel out of hand, and 1 out of the deck. Gets to see exactly what he's been being forced to play around. So what is Guillaume's hand? It's a little shiny
Looks like
for
it's
me.
a Chronicler, a Teachings,
And some other
a
blue
Careful
card.
Consideration.
Careful consideration, okay.
So now the only permission left in the deck that he has to play around is the 2 Draining Welks.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that in the Mystical Teachings represents a Draining Welk.
It does.
Look, does Mark have an Urza's Factory of his own now?
No, he's charging up storage.
No,
points.
down there. I believe he does.
Uh-huh.
Mark just plays land and passes the turn. Interesting things about the Urza's Factor battles is those are also windows for you to get your spells through. Your opponent taps out to make a token. Then you got a window to teachings. You got a window to flash out at Teferi. So Waffletop is making a token, it looks like. And now Mark has asked him to hold on a second. Let me see if there's something I'd like to do here.
In the forums, they're asking us to list the top 5 active American Magic players.
Oh, Mark Herberholz.
I think he's on the list. I mean, the Americans had a pretty good weekend here in terms of getting a lot of players through to day 2. But then the thing that kind of happened on day 2 is it seemed like a lot of veteran players just sort of rose to the top, and people who'd been there and, you know, could handle 16 rounds of brain fatigue and sort of knew the matchups inside and out.
There were also a number of young American players who are PTQ veterans who started coming to the Pro Tours because, well, you know, there wasn't a cash prize on the online anymore. Now there's a ticket.
Right.
And
you saw some good young Americans make a run. There were like 29 Americans on day 2, but only Mark Herberholz got through to the top 8.
Antonino DeRosa has to be
100% agree.
Right up there. I keep thinking about it, though. I don't want to... Top 5 American players.
Rich Hagon from down on the floor is offering up #1 ranked two-headed giant player in the world.
I don't believe he's #1 anymore.
Gerard Pagliano.
I think Havlik and the guys from Amsterdam are #1.
Oh, is that right?
You know, if we're going to go by two-headed giant rating, then, you know, Matt Wang and Steve O are
pretty high.
Pretty high up there. So he took that opportunity to
sneak it to Teferi
into play. You know, Mark can buy a lot of turns with his tendrils on a token.
Okay.
On the back table, sounds like Saito's got Stormbind in play again. Mitamura's got a Finkel going, but Stormbind's permanent, right?
Like Saito said, he only has to do 20 in that match. He was very happy to not see any tendrils on the deck list.
Yeah.
So Waffletop has dug into his deck with the careful consideration. Now he's using Mystical Teachings. You'll get a sudden death and take care of that Teferi.
Looks that way. Yep, there's the sudden death taken out Teferi.
Mark's about to go down to 4.
Yeah, Herberholz doesn't care about any life except that last one.
You know, gaining what, 12 back here?
Is it time to sweep the board yet? Well, there's teachings. Herberholz he's on 4, but he's clearly got plenty of defenses set up. I think we should go, let's go check in on the match between Saito and Mitamura. Seems like we can probably catch a game or two over there, come back, see how this finishes up.
Mark's not even in a hurry to get his tendrils. He went and got careful consideration there.
Yeah, so we'll move our cameras to the back table.
This game might be still going on when we come back.
It might be. Depends how quickly. If the matchup is as lopsided as Saito says it is, we'll see. Herberholz shuffles up after fetching that careful consideration.
We got to work on some split screen technology for the semifinals.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the setup here, we get the 5 screens.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. Oh, there you get a good look at Tomoharu Saito on the left of your screen, Pro Tour Charleston champion, playing in his 4th top 8. The orange hoodie belongs to Kazuya Mitamura. He's in his 2nd top 8.
Pro Tour Charleston semifinalist.
Yeah, both of these guys were playing on Sunday in Charleston. Mitamura was a member of Ryuichi Arita's team, which did they play Saito in the semis, or was it, I forget which way the pairings went.
I don't remember. Oh, I guess they did play in the semis.
I think they did. So there's Mitamura. He's piloting his take on the blue-black control deck, which is much more creature-oriented. He's got Shadow Mage Infiltrators. He's got Brine Elementals. He's got Vesuvian Shapeshifters. Very much trying to set up the Pickles lock. Does not have the Mystical Teachings package. Does not have the Tendrils. Does have some Damnations. I mean, he can sweep the board of creatures.
But he also doesn't have a way to remove Stormbind other than getting the lock. He can get the lock down and keep Saito away from having the mana to activate his
Stormbind, right?
Stormbind.
So we see Saito does have a Stormbind in play. Mitamura has got a grip full of cards. Saito's on 16. Mitamura's on 9. Mitamura's got a Shadow Mage Infiltrator in the red zone attacking. He's also got a careful consideration that he's resolving right now. Yeah, it seems like his big game plan is set up the Pickles lock, right? That's how he beats Stormbind? How many cards does Saito have left, I wonder?
I see at least one.
Sorry, not sure.
Saito being forced to use the mat correctly. Looks like 2 cards for Saito. Oh, he now has 3.
9.
And at least 2 of them are lands.
So between this turn and next turn, he can get Mitamura down to 1.
Down to 1, yeah.
So he still needs a whole nother turn.
Does he play Fiery Temper?
He does play Fiery Temper.
That could do the difference.
That would be the
See a Browbeat on the top of Saito's library. Would be pretty good right here. Brought them in from the sideboard, I believe.
Yep.
あ、コンパルで叩くからそうそうそう。
Looks like we have a clear board over on the Heezy match.
Yep.
Lots of lands.
I believe that's 3 lands in Saito's hand. Plays one of them. That's interesting. Did you play a land there? Play number 5?
Unless he's looking for Fiery Temper.
Finkel attacks again.
No, I don't think I would.
It seems...
He's just added a whole nother turn to his clock, right?
Exactly.
Right, he had a 2-turn clock, and now it's going to take him 3 turns to get there. And he's racing.
Yeah.
ちょっと待って。
Yet another careful consideration from Mitamura.
ハンドが8枚、7枚。
7枚。
それはそう。ローとフィンキャラドロップ。
前のターン6枚だったり
してるよ、ただ。自分が勘違いしたなと思って。8枚のわけないよね。8枚ってアスクがおかしい。
I'm sure our commentators in the other booth are having a lot more fun with this player banter than we are. I have no idea what they're saying.
Oh, he
He does have Fiery Temper in his hand.
So what he wanted to be able to do
Was discard.
discard.
Yeah.
He needs to actually play the land. So he's actually
He's lethal next turn.
He's lethal next turn.
Wow. And he's smacking himself in the face, of course.
So he does 7 at the end of
Yeah,
Mitamura's turn. Untaps.
Draws a card, does
two.
2. Saito drew it up perfect. Mitamura's got a handful of cards, but
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
like, how does he get out of this? Well, he can counter the Fiery Temper.
また3タイムプレイ。
Yeah, Madness, Fiery Temper, Counterspell. Clearly has a cancel in his hand. I think he's got to cancel this, right?
7。どうぞ、ケアフル。
Oh, Saito took the opportunity to do that as a response to the careful consideration.
Right.
Hoping to catch Mitamura without a counter. Not let him draw 4 more.
One ブロービート。はい。
Mitamura down to 5, but Saito's down to 1 card in his hand?
He is down to 1 card.
Still not convinced playing that land was right. Like, it did set up the kill.
Mitamura has like 9 cards. Well, he can't discard. I guess he can just.
He can Stormbind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Fiery Temper was so likely to get canceled.
Yeah, I got very excited. I forgot all about Mitamura's hand, which is about 12 cards.
I mean, he's got Saito. He's hit with Finkel, what, 6 times? He's got Saito down to 14 with nothing but Shadow Mage Infiltrator attacks. He's also resolved. He had resolved already a careful consideration. That's 10 extra cards. Well, there is a Brine Elemental in Mitamura's hand now.
It would almost have to be.
Yeah? And that's obviously the lock that...
He needs the Shapeshifter for it to be the lock, but he can still buy himself a couple turns.
このプレイね。
これモブだよ。浅原さんこれがフィンケルで当たったんだね。
マジ
Morph Mechanic actually works out kind of the way it was drawn up in these decks, right? You don't know, is it a Shapeshifter, is it a Brine Elemental? And it matters.
本当。
2 to you. And did he do 2 to...
3?
I think he did. I think he pointed at Mitamura's head. Yeah. Mitamura's down to 3.
終わり。 はい、テイク。
Yeah. The thing about the Brine Elemental is it hits.
It's
hits
not
big.
small.
Oh, and there it is.
It's 1 turn in time. I mean, Saito's 1 land short of not needing to untap, right? But he's going to come up a card short of doing it.
Counts. No.
何間違い？ファクトリー間違い。
え？
何間違い？
いやまずこれ先に見た方がよかったなと思っただけ。
そりゃそう。
そりゃそうだよね。
つなのね。
Yeah, Minamura looks like he stitched his combo together just in time.
それで、シェイプシフター。
Luckily, Brian Elemental was large enough
I
that
did
if
understand
Saito
that
had.
word. I understood shapeshifter.
はい。
Saito's just buried under card advantage this game.
だいぶ前にミスった。
そんなの待ってんのよ。
あ、僕こういう時は学べるやん。
え、これ俺また火力引いたら勝ち？
There's the shapeshifter.
もう使うわけないよな、このまま。
So
負けた。トイレ。
Yeah, Saito scoops him up. So Minamura stitches his combo together just in time. Saito could get him to 1, but could not deal the last point of damage through Stormbind. So we're at 1 game apiece, and these guys will start shuffling up for game 3.
once Saito returns to the table.
俺も行くわ。見てる。OK？
Meanwhile, Wafotapa and Herberholz are still engaged in their first game. Minamura and Saito have finished 2. Here's the overhead shot from Herberholz versus Wafotapa. When last we checked in, Wafotapa had a factory going and was making some tokens, but Herberholz managed to come up with a factory of his own, managed to sweep the board.
Restocked his life
Tendrils.
totals with a couple of tendrils. Yep.
He's at 15, and Wafotapa's at 20. Wow. Does this come down to decking?
Perhaps we should have started these gentlemen at lunch.
Does this come down to decking?
It could come down to decking.
And then the Academy Ruins from Wafotapa's deck makes his deck infinite, right?
Yes, it
Is
does.
that actually going to come up?
Could come up. I don't know that. I mean, there's still the draining walk.
Sure. Or eventually Herberholz gets up a
Or just
gets up a factory.
Yeah, he gets the factory advantage.
So is it 2-1, or what's the factory count?
It's 2-1. And I don't know. I don't know that there are 2 in play right now. There's just the 1 on each side, right?
Yeah. So it doesn't seem like it can go infinite. It seems like Heezy will eventually get double factory.
Well, I mean, it can't be a ton of cards left in his library. Either players. They've each got about a third of their deck out in terms of land. Judges have bladders too.
Judge asks Guillaume to play a little faster. Token.
Counter.
Counter. Neat. Do through draining Welk in Guillaume's hand, along with the Teferi.
It looks like he has 2 draining walks. And the haunting him.
Yeah, if he can pull one of those off, he's got the Triskelevis too. Oh.
Got enough mana. Starting to have enough mana soon to pull them all off.
Bait with an end step Teferi, try to come out up a draining Welk or something. Now recall that Wafotapa did have his cancels extirpated earlier in this game. So
Those draining walks are his only counter spells left in the match.
Right. Heezy's got a cancel, called Damnation, draining Welk of his own, and a Temporal Isolation. His decks just have more answers than threats. Right? I mean, it's... Wafotapa knows about the draining Welk also because it came from his teachings. Yeah, Heezy just needs to draw his other factory.
Play land.
So we had the challenge in the forums to name the best 5 American players. The offerings up in the forums were Paul Cheon, Mike
Paul
Cron,
Cheon is
Luis Scott
definitely on
Vargas. Cheon ahead of
Yeah.
Scott Vargas?
No, I was just saying, you said the name, and Cheon is definitely,
All right.
but Luis Scott Vargas is also right up there.
Mike Cron was in the money here.
Yeah, in the money, and really near the top tables most of the
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, he lost a couple at the end to finish, I think, 60th or so. Who are the top 5 Japanese players? I mean, it's more a matter of which choose 5 from 10
Is it active? Is it?
right now.
I mean, I don't think Oiso is one of the top 5 active players.
I don't think I do either.
I don't think I count him as really being active. Saito, Kenji,
Yeah.
Fujita.
Fujita still makes the top 5? There's a lot of really talented Japanese players.
You know, there's a lot of players you don't even. I mean, Ryuichi Arita is someone who has 4 Pro Tour top 8s.
It's true. Katsuhiro Mori.
Katsuhiro Mori. Tomohiro Taji.
I think you're over 5 already.
Shota Yasuoka.
I think you're over 5.
I think we're. Well, off the top is actually stockpiled quite an impressive hand here.
Oh, he's going to go for Teferi.
He's willing to get into the Welk fight here.
Apparently. Well, did he, all Mark's mana is tapped. Was that from a token? This is probably the end of Guillaume's turn.
Right.
Mark went token and counter. Pretty much tapped himself out. So Guillaume goes for Teferi. Mark's going to try to cancel it. We may see a big Draining Welk here, but then Mark untaps and Damnations, right?
Right. Mark could also have mana floating.
I don't think so.
He still has quite a few tokens on those lands.
That's certainly true. Yeah, it seems like he wouldn't leave himself out. So Guillaume does indeed go for Draining Welk. And that's just going to work. So 4/4 flyer and a Teferi. The interesting thing, Mark can Damnation here, but he cannot defend it with a counterspell because Teferi won't let him play any instants. There's Damnation, but Wafutapa didn't have enough for that last Draining Welk anyway.
And there is factory number 2.
Hello. Now Guillaume's in trouble. He's burned his Teferi. He's burned one of his Draining Welks. He still has. They each have 1 Draining Welk in their hand.
Mark still needs 2 more lands before he can.
Double it up. Well, he can use storage counters.
He can use storage counters for a little while.
Looks like he's got a Yawgmoth in his hand. That doesn't help. Urborg.
Is this where you start thinking about whether or not you can actually win?
Well, I think Wafutapa's got to start running out Triskelavus. He's got to try to be the aggressor here. I mean, unless Mark's library is thinner than I think it is, Wafutapa knows he's going to lose the double factory in the long run, so he's got to try to play to win a shorter game, which means he's got to clear a path for Triskelavus. Is the Academy Ruins anywhere in sight?
I don't see it in play.
Ready to start? Hold them. And there's
there you go.
Triskelavus.
All right, good call, Randy. So Draining Welk. Is Mark going to walk that?
Mark lets it resolve. Does he have an answer to it in his hand?
He does have a disenchant in his deck. I don't know if we've gone past it yet or not. He may also have another damnation in hand.
Guillaume's going to go ahead and get those counters off.
Right. Worried about sudden death.
Sure. Easy charges off the storage lands.
They're going to get a lot of use in the next couple turns.
There is another damnation in Mark's hand. And he casts it.
Bing, bing, bing. Take 3.
Yep. Down goes Triskelivus.
It's quite a graveyard.
This is still game 1 between Mark Oberholz and Guillaume Wapatapa. A control-on-control battle. The big edge Herberholz has is 2 copies of Urza's Factory. He has now managed to find them both. Has almost enough mana to start using them both, but Guillaume knew, because of that, Guillaume has been fighting, trying to turn himself into the aggressor, trying to force spells through.
I think the sideboard
He comes up with an
games-
Academy Ruins, he's got a shot.
I think the sideboard games might be a little more straightforward.
I believe so. Herberholz makes a guy. Meanwhile, Tomohiro Saito and Kazuya Mitamura have made it back from their trip to the bathroom. They are tied at 1 game apiece, and we will be joining them for Game 3 once that game gets ready to start. Oh, Mitamura is on his way down to 5 cards. That can't be good.
Need some demon fires.
Herberholz ready to make a token to block with. Is he officially up a token now?
He's not yet. He's right now up a token. He's not ready to start making 2 a turn yet because he tapped his factory.
Yep.
To pay for factory. Wants to, I guess, stockpile the counters. So we'll leave his draining well at the ready.
What does Wapatapa have left? Triskelivus is in the yard. Teferi's in the yard. He's got the 1 draining walk in his hand, but so does Heezy.
Guess he's got another Teferi. He's got another Aeon Chronicler. Unless we've missed one going by.
He needs that Academy Ruin, so far as I can tell. That's his game. If he comes up with Academy Ruins and starts casting Triskelivus every turn. Alright, well, we're going to go watch Game 3 between Saito and Mitamura. We will, of course, keep you updated on what goes on in this match.
We'll come back for the rest of Game 1.
We'll see. There you see the scene in the feature match area. Love those banners. Highlights from Yokohama.
I love the banners, and I love, you can't really make out the detail here, but the posts.
Hey, those are bamboo.
Those are metal poles that are sculpted to look like bamboo. They're beautiful.
Really good looking set this year. I mean, every time we come to Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, let him go. So Mitamura has mulliganed down to 5. Saito seems really happy with this matchup, but he did drop Game 2. Mitamura was able to put his Pickles combo together faster than Saito could send his cards through a Stormbind.
We always talk about Saito slapping his face in the coverage, but you can see it firsthand.
Way to make that up.
Match. And it really does look like it hurts when he does it.
I think he's supposed to.
There's an interesting story. I was watching Saito play his final round match to lock up his top 8.
Uh-huh.
And Keita Mori, the Japanese sideboard reporter, was watching the match, and when the match was over, said in Japanese to Saito, congratulations, excellent job. And Saito answered him in English. So he said later, it was very interesting. He said, I was so focused on my match, I was so focused on winning, that I didn't realize you were Keita Mori. Because Keita was really struck by the fact Keita was startled that he answered him in English.
Wow.
So he just thought Keita was a judge over his shoulder, and he wasn't really. He had just tuned everything out. Due to the face stinging pain. Sounds like that was a Mog War Marshal. I can't tell through the blinding glare here.
Yep, Mog War Marshal and Goblin Token on turn 2 for Saito. Minamura has cracked and expands for a swamp.
Squire play.
どういう意味？
従者。
Willbender face up. It's a 1-2. Squire, says Minamura. Saito declines to play Echo. Goes ahead and gets his other goblin.
Now he's only got 2 mana. No, nice.
Suspends the Rift Bolt.
He has 3 lands, but only 2 mana.
Willbender, pretty smart play here.
Yeah.
Squire is exactly what... It's like we watched as those Mog War Marshals tore Raphael Levy apart. Levy just needed a Squire. Squire's on the bonus sheet. He could be here.
You get extra pro points if you win a Pro Tour with Squire in your deck.
Oh.
I think they pay you a 10% pro point bonus.
Keep it.
Cancel the Rift Bolt.
Rift Bolt got canceled.
残念ながら3枚しかないです。
Yeah, Minamura's just like, I trade my counter spells for 3 life. Deal.
It's like an anti-Rift Bolt.
If only Squire had come with healing sounds. Saito's looking over. What do I do about a 1-2? He's got another Rift Bolt in his hand. Looks like he's got a Browbeat.
最悪のケース想定してプレイすれば。
Another land.
Isn't he Browbeat here?
I mean, if you Rift Bolt, he gets to attack for 2. I think his only land is an Expanse, so he can't suspend Rift Bolt and Browbeat. It's kind of, I think, what he would like to do.
Just passes the turn.
Huh. That's surprising. There's a Morph. Which will
Almost certainly die.
no 4th land from Minamura. He did mulligan to 5 this game, so. Sulfur Elemental end of turn, that makes sense.
Okay.
And there's Rift Bolt. Oh, it was a Willbender. Could have been fun if Minamura was able to flip it.
Boy, if he gets Shapeshifter Willbender going against the...
Still no attack from Saito. Why didn't he attack with Sulfur Elemental? Oh, here, we're still in his turn, okay.
Draining Will just resolved targeting a Teferi for Mark
Oh,
Herberholz.
Mark Herberholz has himself a big draining walk.
はい。 15。
Saito attacking with that self-run elemental. Oh, it's a Blood Knight, not a self-run elemental.
Yeah, it looks like Strangling took down the Sulfur Elemental. Looks
Another
like
Blood
that's a
Knight for
second Blood
Saito.
Knight, yeah. Well, you can really just see the shift in the tempo of these games where the aggro decks come out very early. They have some threats, and then just card drawing and plenty of land and card selection and mana fixing, and the game just starts to, the scales just start to tip in the favor of the control player. You know, while these green and red decks were very good against the white mini decks, the blue-black control decks were still very good against aggro in general.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have a great matchup here. Oh, I see a Timbermare looming for Saito.
And a couple of browbeats.
レンズ。はい。
So Minamura fixes up his hand with a careful consideration. He's got a face-down creature and a face-up Willbender. He's squaring off against a couple of Goblin tokens and a couple of Blood Knights.
Oh my.
4枚。
今15であってる。
15。11までは絶対に行く。
Draining Welk down
わ
on
か
the
んないです
back
よ。
table.
してらっしゃるかもしれないですよ。
Tendrils got it.
Haunting him, followed by Tendrils, got it.
Oh, so Guillaume is in control of the hand battle, except he's still down a factory. Saito sends both his Blood Knights into the red zone. Minamura takes 4 down to 11. Oh, Guillaume Rafatapu has found his Academy Ruins and has that in play. There's Browbeat from Tomoharu Saito.
手札は
2枚。
This is starting to get a little tight for Minamura. He's down to 11.
Take 5.
Takes 5 down to 6. And Saito shifts the turn.
終わり。
Minamura plays a land, shifts the turn.
Oh.
はいよ。6でもいつでも死んじゃうやん。
なんだ
Time for Saito to serve with both the Blood Knights again? Or is it Timbermare
He
time?
might browbeat first.
Yeah, I like Browbeat.
Would you like to go to 1?
How do you feel about
3枚でいい
1?
でしょうか。
あ、どうぞ。
どうぞ
どうぞ。
絶対多分やばいよね。
どうぞ。カウンターしないんだったらどうぞ。
Has to let him draw 3 cards.
Absolutely. It's a question of whether they get counter
し
spells.
ないでどうぞです。
カウンターもしてないよな、多分。
はい。カウンターしたら、
手に出せなくなっちゃう。
ボードがさばけないっす。
Triskellivis is back on the back table.
Yeah, Guillaume working the Academy Ruins now.
Mark's working his
Double factory.
double factory now. Yep. Conscripted everyone for the war effort.
How does Minamura win this? Does he? Once again, he's got to set up his pickles combo, right?
Absolutely.
But it doesn't seem like he's got time.
No, or the mana to do it. He needs 6 mana to unmorph.
Brine Elemental.
7 mana to unmorph.
7 for Brine Elemental? I don't see that happening.
6 mana just to play it straight up.
Okay. Well, down comes Teferi. And Saito takes the opportunity to slap a Sulfur Elemental into play. Before Teferi can resolve, but after Minamura taps his lands, obviously. Saito does have a Timbermare in his hand. It's 5/5, right?
It is a 5/5.
So we'll get Minamura to 1.
Or he could attack with 4 guys here and get him to 5.
He declined to attack last turn. I think he smelled Teferi.
And if you can get him within Timbermare distance, then maybe Minamura feels like he has to go ahead and try to set up his Pickles combo. You know, Saito can sit back on his untapped lands.
It's a question in the forums as to whether Gabe Nassif showed up for this tournament. Very much so.
Oh, very much. He was.
Yeah.
He
Gabe
was,
put up a 20. Looks like a 28th place finish, and that was despite he lost 2 of the last 3.
Right. He was playing right up until the end.
Yeah, he was in top 8 contention with 2-3 rounds to go.
And worked with Herbert Holtz on.
Yep.
On the deck that's trying to get out of game 1 here. Okay.
Saito sizes up an attack and decides to send the team in. Brine Elemental just came down at instant speed.
Oh, well,
Thanks to Teferi. Uh-oh. 2 points get through. Minamura falls to 4. But if that's a shapeshifter... Alright, Mogwar Marshal came down. Saito does have 5 mana left.
Oh, thank you.
So if that's a shapeshifter, Minamura's got the combo, right? You gonna walk people through how this works? I know it's a favorite of yours. You even coined this, the Pickles combo, after the Brine Elemental, right?
Yes.
We have you to thank for that. So how does it work?
So when the Vesuvian Shapeshifter is unmorphed, and if it copies a morph with a morph trigger,
Yep.
it gets to put that morph trigger on the stack itself, and with the Brine Elemental, your opponent skips an untap step.
And then the shapeshifter's ability to let you flip it back face down
Flip
again.
it back face down again on your next turn, and you can do that. If you catch your opponent locked,
So Minamura does not flip. Maybe that's not a shapeshifter. Mark Herberholtz, by the way, may actually lose to Triskelivis Academy Ruins.
I'm watching this out
He
of the
was
corner of
forced to
my eye.
cancel a Triskelivis, got that canceled Draining Welk. Suddenly there's a Triskelivis and a Draining Welk, sacrificing all the tokens, and Guillaume Wafo Tapa wins that first game. Wow. I talked to Guillaume over lunch. I said, what would you change about your deck if you had to do it over again? He said, the only card I would take out is Academy Ruins and Triskelivis. Those are the only 2 cards I have not liked. They've been terrible all weekend long, and they just won in the first game of the semifinals. The only way he had to win that game was with Academy Ruins. He brought back Triskelivis a good 3-4 times, ran Herberholtz out of resources.
And it was interesting. He had his cancels extirpated early in that game.
Yeah.
And had 2 Draining Welks and was holding them for the most of the game and really picked his spots with them. And then when it came down to that crucial end turn, was able to
Use the last Welk.
use the last Welk, yeah. That was very well played by Wafotapa.
Meanwhile, Tamaharu Saito has got Kazuya Minamura down to 4. Minamura's got a couple of Brine Elementals.
I don't know that he can get him the rest of the way, though.
Those Brine Elementals are large. Minamura keeps imagining how he's going to block. Can he afford to attack? Top 5 Americans on pro points, by the way, has been offered up in the forums. Is a way to answer that question. That list goes Fran, Irvin Tormos, Paul Cheon, Gerard Fabiano, John Pelkak.
John Pelkak had a 17th place finish.
Yeah, he was playing for top 8 in the last round.
Yeah. His first individual day, too.
Yep. Against Wafatapo, actually. It was Pelkak versus Guillaume for the spot in the top 8. Yeah, to be fair, that list does not count this Pro Tour, so Keezy would clearly get onto the list. Pelkak would move up the list. Antonino had a good tournament too, right? I mean, he was in it for a while. 34th,
Yeah.
Antonino wound up. 2 wins off the top 8 spot.
It was interesting. I was talking to one of the American players who did pretty well this week. I meant to mention before, Dane Young, finished 16th, and I think his 3rd Pro Tour. And he was like, I don't know, how to feel about this. He could see the top 8 for a couple of rounds. It was definitely within shooting distance for him.
Right.
And he's like, do I feel bad about my tournament? And top 16 finish is something a seasoned Pro Tour veteran and level 3 player would be very happy to get. Oh.
Oh, Timbermare got snapped.
Stormbind baited out
back.
Draining Welk. Stormbind baited out Draining Welk. Cleared the path for Timbermare. Timbermare was snapped back from the tapped out Metamora. And now Saito is like, is that 20? Am I dead? He says, yes, I am.
Wow. Unbelievable. Minamura almost giggling. He mulliganed to 5 that game, if you remember. Mulligan to 5. Saito says this is a good matchup for him, but it's Kazuya Minamura who's now suddenly up 2 games to 1. Saito's walking away from the table, slapping himself in the face, trying to understand what just happened.
He played that turn perfectly.
And he thought he had it. He was like, I'll bait out the counter with Stormbind. He'd been holding that Timbermare for a long time, and he was so confident. He put it down, tapped all his men, I've got you. Nope. He forgot about snapback.
Was that just
Look at this smile on Minamura's face. He's loving this.
And did he have exactly 2 cards in his hand?
Quite possibly. Wow, Minamura played that game awesome.
Seeing some limited staples.
Sure.
Showing up, strangling soot and premature burial and snapback, all doing constructed work. So these guys are shuffling up for game 4. Wafatapo and Herberholz are shuffling up for game 2. I imagine Mark has brought in, he was running down how he was going to sideboard, and I assume he's bringing in the dismal failure, the consideration, the extra teachings, the extra pull from eternity, the two extra pates, the 1 mountain, and the 2 detravores.
Sure.
In his matchup. Taking out, the tendrils and a number of the
Are they even on
anti-creature cards.
Detravores?
What's that?
Detritivores?
Detritivore? Is that how you say it?
I think it's Detritivore.
Detritivore, yeah. Detritus. Detritivore, sure.
Are they even?
They're both even.
Well, Wafatapa's got 3.
Oh, wait,
How many does
that's the
Keezy
wrong.
have?
I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong list. 3 Detritivores.
For both? How many does...
In the Wafatapo, no, and there's 2 for Mark.
So Wafatapa's up a Detritivore.
And they have the same amount of pull from eternities. It's another card that has had a big breakthrough performance as a sideboard card this weekend, and main deck card even. We haven't seen. I don't think we've really seen much of that in Constructed before. We were kidding around about it a little bit as an anti-scepter card. Just yank whatever they put on the scepter out from under it. But with mystical teachings, it's really done its work this in the control mirrors.
Water, please.
Gabe Walls has offered up his list of the top 5 active
Oh, yeah?
American players. Herbert Holtz 1, Neil Reeves 2. I'm not sure he counts
I don't
as
think
active.
Neil Reeves counts as active.
Mike Ron 3.
Sure.
Sam Gummersall 4, living in the States now. There's a list that Jerome Remy could have been on at some point, I'm sure. And Osip 5th.
And you know what? Osip didn't show up this weekend.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
So
I
does
don't know.
he get to? I would have put him on my list,
So
but
you're not sure he counts as active?
I'm not sure he counts as active if he's not here.
Just doesn't like Japan?
I think a combination of school and yeah, not really liking the trip. And it's funny
Yeah, he's
because
finishing up an MBA program
Yeah.
right now, right?
he play tested the hell out of this format.
Really?
Yeah, he felt really confident, and he just I don't think had the time.
Wow.
So
If he play tested the hell out of the format, he counts as active.
okay.
Saito suddenly looking concerned. He was so confident over lunch. Thought he through to the finals.
He's like, I just have to do 20. This is so easy.
騙された
And twice he's had his opponent
騙された
within 4 or 5 points, and seemed to have all the cards in hand to do it.
Uh-huh.
And even had an uncounterable way of doing it. In
Yeah.
game 1 or game 2,
Sure.
with
Stormbind.
Stormbind in play and mana to use it, but Midamura kept him from having that mana.
Gabe has offered off the list of the top 5 Japanese players as well.
Okay,
Kenji number 1.
sure,
I think everybody's going to agree with that.
sure.
He's got Kaji 2. Has Oliver Ox 3rd. Saito and Shuhei Nakamura.
Right, Shuhei. We didn't even name Shuhei when we were running
Yeah, I
through
know.
through the. And
I
that's
think
not
you've
a
got to.
slight on Shuhei. It's just too many names. I couldn't keep.
And Fujita Usawa and Takahiro Suzuki at the bottom of his list. So another Japanese list in here that goes Sumura, Kurihara, Usawa, Saito, Atsuko. There's a lot of choices.
Draw.
All right, players are off to the races. Turn to Blood Knight from Saito.
That sound you hear?
Frank Carson getting a lot of props in the message boards for finishing 10th despite carrying around a bucket all day because he was
Right,
that sick.
And I think the interesting question is, would he have finished higher
Or lower.
or lower without the bucket?
Another face-up Willmender. That doesn't block Blood Knight.
Doesn't block Blood Knight, but it lets him. I guess he can turn it on. Oh,
Well, there's Stormbind. Saito playing very quickly, very aggressively. Slamming that card down.
Takes a drink of water to pause for applause.
And is that his method of applauding?
これはダメだ
Well, Bender gets the slam home.
Draw.
はいよ 16 なんだ
Draw.
Oh my.
So over on the Heezy match, looks like
That Triskelevis?
Wafatapa got a quick Triskelevis into play, and the extirpates are starting to go to work for Mark Herberhold, who's taking all the draining whelks out of Wafatapa's deck. Got one. Nope. The whelk was actually
Wafatapa.
discarded because he missed a land drop.
Maul Gore Marshall from Saito.
say, I'd be a little worried about that morph.
Yeah, I think he runs face-up Willbender because then he can threaten Shapeshifter, right? Now he can flip up a Shapeshifter and deflect something. Or he can at least bluff it.
Right. Well, I guess he could have just done that with Willbender, too, though. Wall's causing more trouble.
Trying to. Tim Ayton is saying Pelcac in the top 5 indeed. I can't tell if he's being sarcastic or not. No idea.
Pelcac seems to be on a little bit of a run lately.
I agree.
He's doing really well. Mystical teachings for extirpate over here from Wafutapa, who's, I guess, soon going to extirpate the extirpates.
Oh. Indeed, that's exactly what happened. That's pretty big. That was the one edge we thought Herberholz had in Game 2, was his ability to win the extirpate battle, but all of a sudden it's even. No extirpates left in anybody's deck. Saito goes into the red zone.
It was a shapeshifter.
It was indeed a shapeshifter. Now, what just happened? He flipped it to turn it into a 2/2 first striker, right? Or turn it into a Willbender?
Did he just send 2 back to Saito's Nug?
And the shapeshifter flips back down again. Shapeshifter Willbender from Mitamura. Oh, he redirected the Pendelhaven.
Oh.
He redirected the Pendelhaven to the non-attacking Goblin token. That's what happened. That was cute.
Wonder if that's ever happened before.
Maybe not. I don't know. Mitamura saw it right away. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. Mitamura calmly redirecting Pendelhaven to a non-attacking creature like he's done it 100 times all weekend. And he may have. Yeah, because, I mean, the morph at 2/2 block the 1/1. Right, now here it's just going to happen again, right? Pendelhaven. Redirects it. At least the Goblin's attacking this time.
Take 4.
Yep. Now he's got a window to use Stormbind, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you got a Stormbind and get Shapeshifter off the table.
こっち1で5ね。これだっけ
Loses Browbeat.
ダメか。
Only 1 card left in Saito's hand. Oh, no, he's got a grip.
He's got a full grip. As does Mitamura. It's like a Finkel, a Teferi, a Soot, an Island.
Shapeshifter.
Oh, backup Shapeshifter, that's good.
Back to board parity over on the Herberholz Wafutapa match.
Yep. I mean, a lot of the shenanigans you see in Mitamura's deck are the things that Tsuyoshi Fujita's Mono Blue was built almost completely around. Right, it was basically a Mono Blue Pickles deck with all of the Shapeshifter shenanigans and Willbenders and whatnot.
But more card advantage in this version with the Shadow Mage Infiltrators.
Yeah, and he gets Damnation as well, but he gets it at the cost of his mana base. Right. I mean, that was Tsuyoshi read on the format, was just like, these dual lands aren't good enough. I'm just going to play monocolor.
Right.
And then I get to run colorless lands like Desert and Factory.
Sure. Here comes Teferi. You Stormbind. Nope.
Yeah. Pendelhaven so that he can deal 2 damage to Teferi. Which should let him finish it off with a Stormbind, right?
Yeah, that's what he's going to do. Looks like he's holding a couple of Fiery Tempers.
Chooses to use the Assault half of Assault and Battery to finish off Teferi rather than activate Stormbind.
Then do you suspend Riftbolt here rather than...
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Rather than risk losing one of your Fiery Tempers and wasting the Madness?
I
mean,
think
you have
so.
to, right?
Yeah, I totally think so. He just passes the turn. I don't think he wants to activate Stormbind here. There's another face-down creature. Saito obviously has to be worried that it's a shapeshifter, but now, yeah, he's going to respond by using Stormbind. And hits the Riftbolt. So did he go? He went Nug with that.
I believe so.
Yeah, Minamura's down to 6. Yeah, we were saying that Minamura needed the Pickles combo to shut down Stormbind, but the Shapeshifter Willbender helps. It doesn't actually shut it down because you can only bounce the first one per turn.
Especially when you're going to get there by just enough cards.
Yeah, then it's quite good. But Minamura's at 6, and Saito's got 3 cards in his hand now. Draw phase up to 4.
The problem is the Willbender doesn't put that beat-down pressure that the
Brine
Brine
Elemental
Elemental does.
That's absolutely right.
Getting in there for 1 is not that exciting.
And there's this Blood Knight problem, too. Strangling Soot takes care of it. But now Minamura's tapped out. If he hits Fiery Temper here, it's game over, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Minamura's tapped out.
He's dead. He's
dead. He'll definitely hit one of the 2 Fiery Tempers.
As long as Saito taps his mana right on the next activation.
There's Fiery Temper. There's Madness. There's 3 damage. There's Minamura scooping up his cards. So Tamaharu Saito has evened this match 2 games apiece. They're going to be headed to Game 5. One last game will determine which one of these Japanese players will be playing in the Pro Tour Finals against the winner of the Wafo Tapa Herberholtz match. Wafo Tapa and Herberholtz are in Game 2. There are no non-mana permanents in play. Wafo Tapa's got a 1-0 lead.
Looks like Mark's got a factory, but not enough. He's got a factory, but doesn't look like he has.
Yeah, Wafo Tapa's got the mana advantage.
He's just getting to the mana to use it right now. Haunting him.
ね、俺とミスしてた。
いや別に
Court, I'm surprised I didn't see people running was Dodecapod.
Yeah, that seems like it would have been good in this format. There's a lot of Haunting Hymns running around.
Dismal Failures.
Dismal Failures running around.
I think Rob Doherty actually had Dodecapods in his deck. So I'm just watching the match on the back table, and it's
Nothing going on.
nothing. It's just land and putting counters on our land, and there was a Haunting Hymn, which looks like it resolved, but Triskelevis is back now.
He got the Academy Ruins again.
He's got the Academy Ruins, yeah.
So hilarious. I sat down next to Guillaume for lunch. It was the only thing he would have changed. He said that he didn't like his anti-control package. He really wished that He should have had another factory, is what he said he would replace the Academy Ruins with. He should have had a second factory. And he also said that he really thought the best sideboard plan he's seen for the sort of blue-black Nero matchup is Plague Slivers and Phyrexian Totems.
Right.
So he kind of wanted to reconfigure his main deck and sneak in a couple Phyrexian Totems as mana cards, and then bring in Plague Slivers and suddenly he's got, 7 5-power pounders out of the, sideboarded against control, something like that. Now suddenly they've got to keep their creature cards in, and it just would put the, he thought that was the best package he'd seen, anti-control.
Right.
Well, without having that, he had to run with the plan that got him there, and one Academy Ruins, one Triskelevis.
Mark just had to cancel the Triskelevis.
Yeah.
And, it'll be back for another round. The extra pages are gone, so Mark doesn't really have an answer.
Detritivore.
Other than suspending a Detritivore, yeah.
Who do you like in this last game between Saito and Minamura?
Well, I really like the way Saito's played.
I gotta like Minamura here. I've been impressed by the way Minamura's played. He gets to go first in the last game. Saito clearly misunderstood this matchup because it's not nearly as lopsided as he said it was over lunch.
It's less lopsided than the other matchups that the blue-black matchups that he could potentially face. He doesn't have to. He has to deal 20. And
yeah, but I mean,
if Minamura stumbles at all, his deck is capable of doing that very easily.
Yeah, Minamura plays like a 1-3. Suddenly the world ends, right? I mean, face-up Willbender has looked good. How good is John Finkel going to be?
Squire looked world-stopping, so Finkel's got to be a backbreaker. But I'm gonna stick with Saito here. He's every time I've seen him this weekend with his back against the wall, he's found a way. Lots of players here are just building up their hands with mystical teachings and just sort of arming themselves for this inevitable showdown, which is apparently going to be I guess it won't be over to Trinidor, and Mark doesn't really care if it resolves or not. How taxed are these two guys going to be, whichever one of them wins, going into that finals?
Heezy and Keel.
Yep. How draining is this matchup on you mentally?
They both seem like pretty easygoing guys, though. I mean, there's some people that, are clearly exhausted after a couple hours of thinking about that. And there's other guys who are just like, play Magic. Playing Magic's fun.
Just seems pretty straightforward to them. The decisions are clear.
I don't feel like, do you feel like, when you watch Mark Herberholz play, is he straining? Is he trying to figure stuff out on the fly? No, he already knows what he's supposed to be doing.
And I feel the same way about Wafutapa.
Yeah.
He seems, there's a lot of pretty people resolved and all his moves.
There's a lot of people, they'll be trying to figure it out, and that's why these guys are, we're saying the match is going along, but it's going along because they're going really deep and playing a ton of turns. They're actually playing pretty quickly, because I think they understand their decks, they're fairly confident that they understand what's supposed to be going on. They're not trying to think these moves out. I mean, a lot of times you hand somebody a deck cold, that's what's hard, is trying to figure out, I don't really understand exactly what this deck does, so I'm trying to figure out the plays. These guys know what the plays are. I'm not saying it's easy. There's still lights and pressure, and, a bunch of money on the line, a bunch of pro points on the line.
And now, with the introduction of the Hall of Fame, as that's
history and legacy.
I think
that weighs on people's minds. I think it has to.
I think it has to once you get up there. I mean, Mark already has the win. You know,
Yeah, but
which
he's
is-
not an obvious Hall of Famer at this point. I mean, that's...
No. But I'm saying,
If he was inclined to be motivated by that, yeah, he should be thinking about it.
get into a counter battle here over.
Yet another Triskelivus. Academy ruins.
How many Triskelivus are in this deck?
They just keep coming. Yeah. Herberholz is trying to welk it. Cancel. And Triskelivus resolves. No welk for Mark Herberholz. Instead, it's Triskelivus for Guillaume Wafatapa.
Quickly makes two
Yeah,
tokens.
quickly moves a couple tokens off. Easy untaps in a hurry.
It's interesting to see also how tournament behavior is modified by card mechanics. Like
Sure.
They introduced
the existence of split second and
the
all of a
introduction
sudden...
of split second, and suddenly it's good tournament procedure to play your guy and move your counters off.
Right.
That would be 2 years ago. That's just poor play, right?
Absolutely.
紹介か
Does not look like a happy Tamaharu Saito.
Oh my god, please.
He's got 4 mountains and 3 spells. 4 mountains, not what he wanted to see. Speaking of split second, sudden death took out the 2/2 Triskelivus, leaving 2 tokens behind. Saito keeps. And Mog War Marshal.
4分かまだ
There's Minamura's hand. Looks like we'll see
Looks
a
like we're gonna
third
see
land and a morph.
Yep.
It's also
That
got
is
2
so-
copies of Strangling Soot.
It really looks like a draft deck, doesn't it?
Blue black with a couple swords, a Brine Elemental hanging out.
Dreadship Reef, you know.
They shipped the turn? Yeah. Saito comes in and the token gets Strangling Soot.
Sure. Keeps him tapped down for a turn. He paid the echo. Do you suspend Drift Bolt here? Okay.
Apparently, yes.
Okay, good. Not a very heavy permission hand for Mitamura in this game. You surprised he kept that hand?
No, it seemed fine. Mix of land and spells. Why does he need... He doesn't need permission, he just needs to trade. Trade, set up. No, I used to take out counters against... I mean, when you're playing against the aggro red deck, counterspell is one of the worst cards in your deck. You just want to be able to react, kill something, play a blocker, play a 1/2. That's way better.
Side in the squires.
Wow, Stormbind, Fiery Temper for Saito.
But no forests.
No green mana.
いいよ
Riftboat resolves. That'll drop Minamura to 16.
Okay. 15
終わり。
はいいいっすか
Expanse for an island from Minamura. And he charges up a storage land.
Saito's hand is terrific if he can
Needs green mana.
if he can find that forest or Pendelhaven. How many green sources does he play?
I kind of like the way Minamura has chosen not to run out that Brine Elemental. I mean, he's pretty effectively bluffing permission. And then, yeah, exactly this. Now he gets to run it out as a 6/6. It's not going to die.
Yep, it's going
Built
to
up
take
some
it
storage
takes
land.
2 spells if Saito wants to kill it. It's like a giant vitamin.
Up on the first table, Waffle Top has been attacking with a couple of Triskelovite tokens, but he seems to be winning the card advantage game.
He just got a dismal failure off, and looks like he suspended a Chronicler.
Yep. I think I heard Rich say he's got a Detritivore in his hand. He's been sort of saving it so he can defend it, and
he doesn't need to defend it. He just needs to suspend it. But I guess he's worried about the
pull from eternity. Meanwhile, I mean, if Wafatapa is just drawing Triskelovus every turn, if he's got answers to that, then let Wafatapa waste his time on this. I mean, that's the way he's played the deck all weekend, right? It's like only the last point of life matters. Sure, let him cast Triskelovus 7 times. What do I care? As long as I kill the thing before I die, I'm fine.
And it's not like he's drawing new cards.
Right. That's my point. Wafatapa is just sort of in this sort of stasis of playing the same card over and over and over again.
Oh, and there's the pull from eternity gets the Chronicler.
I wonder if that was bait. Clear path for Detritivore.
It's a question.
It's funny. I played a match at Grand Prix Lisbon once, where I was playing a Counter Phoenix deck. Had the ability to bring back Shard Phoenixes and forbid and lock somebody. Guy played a turn 4 Trade Run Rider, and he had the land where you could take a creature back from the graveyard, put it back on top of the library. Made that play every turn for 30 consecutive turns. And he just kept putting the Trade Run Rider back on top, and I was forbidding it with buyback with the Shard Phoenix. Literally 30 consecutive turns. I'm like, why is this guy still doing this? Does he realize he hasn't drawn a card in 30 turns? And like occasionally I would throw in a Dismiss and be up a card, be up like 2 cards. It's just like eventually I draw into Dismisses, was able to make progress and build up mana and be buying back 3 Shard Phoenixes instead of 2. It's like, this is a losing battle. You look ahead far enough, and that's... Now, Heezy does not have any sort of recursive way to deal with Triskelovus. I'm not saying it's the same situation, but it's...
But Mystical Teachings is
almost recursive.
Virtually recursive. So we just got handed a list of the cards from the top 50 decks in this tournament. What was the most played? You don't get to look.
I'm not looking.
What was the most played card main deck?
Mountain.
Yeah, Mountain. 325 Mountains in the top 50 decks. What was the most played non-land card in the tournament?
Most played non-land card in the tournament. Sulfur Elemental?
That was second. It's Prismatic Lens. Tricked you.
You did.
It was mana. Yeah, it's
I feel for the Sulfur Elemental. That was pretty good. I got the top colored card. That's
top,
how I interpreted the question.
The top cards are...
My story, I'm sticking to it.
Mountain, Island, Forest. More terramorphic expanses than there were swamps.
Sure.
More Prismatic Lenses.
You said top 50 decks?
It says top 50
decks. How many planes?
I don't see planes. There's 53 planes in the top 50 decks.
That's what, 3 White Weenie decks? 4 maybe?
3 or 4. I mean, and there's some planes in the control decks.
Yeah, so it's like maybe 2. Wow. All right. Meanwhile, Tomoharu Saito has found his forest, has gotten his Stormbind into play. But in other news, there's a Brine Elemental and a Vesuvian Shapeshifter. But then again, I guess the Shapeshifter is a Brine Elemental right now. Minamura is tapped down to 1 mana.
Where are we in?
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out too.
What phase are we in? Sparky?
Sorry. Now he's up.
It is Saito's upkeep. So Brine Elemental got flipped. So that shapeshifter was a Brine Elemental. Now is it? It stays a Brine Elemental all the way
Stays
until
a
the
Brine
next turn?
Elemental until as long as it's faced up right now.
So Saito can Stormbind something.
If he draws a land and hits his Fiery Temper, he can get rid of that shapeshifter.
Hmm.
We haven't seen his hand, so we don't know what he drew. If he he does have land, so he has an out here.
He's got 2 Fiery Tempers, right?
Yep.
So you play, it's basically 50-50. Wow, basically 50-50 to go.
And if he misses, that's pretty much the game. Oh, nope. He decided to play it safe. He went dead, and then Stormbind.
やばいね、終わったね。
やばいね。
やっと、1、2、3、4、5、6。
Oh, there was the Fiery Temper.
But couldn't he have Stormbinded first?
しょうがないです。
終わり。
Yeah.
And then but then if he hits the dead, he's locked into.
じゃなかったかも。
Oh, if he hits
Right, if
the
it's
dead,
the
then
dead,
he's
that's the
screwed.
problem. Sure.
14。
So there was a 25%. If he Stormbinds first, there's a 25% scenario where he's still locked.
Right. Oh boy.
Oh, but there's a new shapeshifter.
And that's the game.
And that's the lock.
That's the lock.
And that's the game. And Minamura knows it. He leans back in his chair. There's the handshake. And wow. Kazuya Minamura wins. 3-2. He defeats Tomoharu Saito. It is Minamura and his Pickles deck. You got to be tickled.
Kind of happy to see the Brine Elemental going to the finals of the Pro Tour.
Brine Elemental will be in the finals. Kazuya Minamura will be trying to live the dream. How many times can he put that Pickles combo together? Needs 3 more, and then he wins the Pro Tour.
And it's worth noting that both players on the other table are not looking forward to playing against the Pickles combo.
No, it's actually a pretty decent matchup
Their
against
decks
Black
really need to tap out. They need to spend. They use their mana. It doesn't matter if they use it at the end of the turns. You can just unmorph a Brine Elemental.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a tricky matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the flaw with the Brine Elemental deck is that the beatdown can beat you up in a hurry, right?
Right.
We talked about it. There were no tendrils. There's no life gaining. You know, Minamura is basically just trying to stitch his combo together quick enough. So a good aggro deck can often outpace him. Obviously hasn't happened very often this weekend because Minamura is sitting there in the finals.
All right. I see the Tridivore in the removed from game section.
Indeed. So this is game 2. Guillaume Wafatapa is up a game. He's had Academy Ruins Triskelevis running for a little while. He's cast that Triskelevis at least 3, 4, 5 times. Herbert Holtz has been fighting it. He's been killing stuff. He's actually been slow rolling into Tridivore. It's been in his hand for quite some time, but I think he was worried about Pull from Eternity. He eventually baited out the Pull from Eternity with an Aeon Chronicler. Now he's got to Tridivore. Oh, he actually made 2 Tridivores, I'm told by Rich Hagon. Pull from Eternity got rid of one of them, but then the other one stuck. Now this is, not only does that get rid of the Academy Ruins, but how much did he suspend it for, Rich? Suspended it for 2, because, I mean, there's other non-basics he can take out as well.
Right.
And start to pinch the man. I mean, taking out 2, not the end of the world. Now, there do still seem to be a bunch of flyers on Guillaume Wafatapa's side of the board.
11.
Sudden Shock's one of the Pentavite tokens.
Sudden death.
Sudden Death, sorry.
All right. Here's Think Twice.
And again.
Yep.
He's on 11. Makes a token, charges up a land. Here comes the Tridivore.
Takes out a Dreadship Reef.
How much gas does he have left in his hand?
Three.
Not much gas. He's got 2 land and a pull from Eternity. So this Triskellivis fight ran him out of resources. He's in trouble. 15 to 11. Guillaume's going to be attacking for what? 1, 2, 3. How big is the Triskellivis right now?
I believe that everyone there is a 1/1.
So 4?
But there's 3 extra points.
Right,
looming
so
with
7,
defensive
so that's an
tokens.
effective 4. Mark Herberholz needs to top deck an answer right now.
Sure.
And he's got to top deck an answer and have Guillaume not answer back. 5 lands. Wow. Guillaume, just careful consideration, and drew 4 lands off the top of his deck to go with the one that was in his hand. So if he does manage to top deck something here, Damnation seems like it would be good.
How many cards are
Tendrils,
left in
maybe?
Wafatapa's library?
Well, he hasn't been drawing them. He's been drawing
That's
Triskellivis
true,
over and
that's
over and
true.
over again. I mean, he is close. Does he have any mystical teachings access anywhere? Probably not if he spent all his mana drawing a card. So what did he draw? To a blue card? I think it's careful consideration. So he top decked 5 cards. That's pretty good. Or top decked 4 new ones. And he's able to knock Guillaume to 8 there, so he doesn't need much. Even just...
But he's dead on board.
He looks dead on board. Drew, I see Chronicler, and not much else. Another pull from Eternity and a couple of lands. Wow, Mark Herberholz almost won that Academy Ruins fight. And Guillaume Wafatapa going to pilot the only 2 cards from his main deck that he regrets putting in, and they look like they're about to win him the second of 2 games in this semifinal. Easy said over lunch, the sideboard of games are going to be all about pull from Eternity to Tradivore fights. He hoped his extirpates were going to give him the answer, but Wafatapa took the opportunity to extirpates, even that fight up. Eventually did lose his Academy Ruins to a Tradivore, but not before he got Triskellivis into play one last time. Here's an attack for 4. Mark Herberholz is down to 3. He's trying to bluff Tendrils of Corruption. That's what Guillaume's thinking, right? Does this guy, I can sack, and deal 3 damage, but if he's got life gain, this is tough for Guillaume, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Does he want to sacrifice his board position to try to cash in a win now? Or does he want to force Herberholz to show him an answer? If he lets Heezy draw a card.
I have a look to his graveyard. I don't even know what he has left in terms of win conditions.
Wow. Guillaume said go. He's going to get a draw phase. Only because he's been able to effectively bluff Tendrils of Corruption. Oh, he drew Tendrils of Corruption off the top. Oh. I saw that right, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe that just happened.
But the problem here is...
What is he, Tendrils? Everything gets killed as a response? Well, here's a ton of mana from Guillaume. So Heezy moves into the red zone with 2 tokens and a Detritivore. Guillaume makes a token. Block. So Guillaume's going to take, is that 5? How big's Detritivore? 3/3, I think? Might be a 2/2. Guillaume still has the ability... I guess Guillaume has the ability to sack anytime he wants to, so if Heezy ever goes for tendrils, Guillaume can kill him as a response. 3-3. Tendrils is his own guy. Guillaume goes over the top, and Guillaume played it right.
Yep.
Guillaume Wafatapo wins 2-0.
Yeah, the tendrils actually wasn't a top deck in the sense that he couldn't use it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well
Played by Guillaume Wafatapo.
Yeah. Perfect
Didn't
play.
want to risk sacrificing his men, because if he sacrifices the men and Heezy has the tendrils as a response, then Heezy wins. But if he just sits there, yeah, if Heezy had it, he would have needed to cast it before he went down to
Right.
before he took that damage. So once that damage got hit, Guillaume Wafatapo pretty much had the game iced, and all of a sudden, Guillaume Wafatapo leads Mark Herberholz 2-0. This was supposed to be edge Mark Herberholz. What happened?
You know what? Guillaume even said it was edge Mark Herberholz.
I know.
The Academy, the games have gone long. The Academy Ruins for Triskelevis has proven to be that this was this is the one match that it's worked the way it was drawn up on the in the locker
Earning its
room.
keep now. $40,000 on the line if Guillaume can win this Pro Tour. Bunch of pro points. Wow. It's a question of the forums asking why the Pickles deck does not play Fathoms here.
You know, it's funny because when I was playing with Pickles in Standard, I liked the Fathom Seer because you could put it down on turn 2 and you could block a Savannah Lion. I mean, it seems like a fine anti-aggro card. You know, the same way, you know, those situations where he's playing the Willbender. I don't know why Mitamora obviously chose to play the Shadow Mage Infiltrators over it.
Sure.
So I mean, I guess he just
Shadow
made that
Mage
decision.
seems like better card drawing.
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Doesn't want to return his lands, and you know, you feel just kind of silly playing Fathom Seer for 2 mana. Although it's right a lot of the time when you're playing against an aggro deck. But you get more cards, I guess, the other way. You get more cards off the Shadow Mage Infiltrator without having to, without the Vesuvian Shapeshifter showing up. You know, it's not dependent on anything else. It's not dependent on setting yourself back 2 lands. It's not, dependent on having your Morph live or not get countered. You know, it's not 2 cards. Seemed like it's the right play for Mitamora. He's he's going to be going to the finals with it.
The Bears are back.
Interesting, Mark won all the matches, all the games where he had just the orange T-shirt.
I was thinking the same thing.
Put on the sweatshirt, loses 2 straight.
It's true. Sweatshirt's gone. Now the hat wasn't backwards in the quarter, so the hat was forward.
Mark is clearly not superstitious enough.
Heezy doesn't look panicked though. I mean, you see a lot of people at this point would be slouched back in the chair.
Sure.
Have the losing slouch going on. And Mark's, leaning forward. He's into this. Like that kind of sucked, but capable of rattling off 3 straight.
Wafatapo looks pretty excited though.
Blinking a hello and Morse code back to his friends and friends.
See, I can't imagine myself in this situation. Just my heart would be, my heart pounds when I'm in the finals of a Moto draft. How are these guys not just rupturing veins in their temples? I don't understand how you can be so calm sitting there. I mean, I guess that's one of the. That's just a great attribute as a player, just that ability to just remain calm under these situations. Did you find yourself to be very calm in these circumstances? Did you get
honestly,
pumped for it? Or?
You kind of get used to it. Like for me, the adrenaline happened in round 1. It was like Friday morning. I was totally psyched. I was ready to play. But then, over the course of Friday, you kind of get into it. Over the course of Saturday, if you don't have a calm enough demeanor, there's no way you survive 16 rounds of Swiss to get the chance to sit here in the first place. And there comes a while where you realize, okay, yeah, you're playing against John Finkel or Kai Bude or something. But I mean, you've played these guys before and you've seen them around, and they're just guys.
Yeah, if you're someone who gets nervous when you play under a pressure situation, are there things you can do to learn how to be calmer, to learn how to be just more unflappable? Or is that just something that's innate?
I think it comes with being comfortable. And I think the trick is to put yourself in those situations again and again until you get comfortable with them.
Right. So it's that's sort of the classic situation. You talk
Almost
to people,
like you build up a tolerance, right?
You talk to people who are like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to play in the Pro Tour. People who do well on the Pro Tours, or people who've sold slots in the past at PTQ at the PTQ level.
Right.
Done the prize split. If you don't go in and sort of expose yourself to that level of competition, then you're never going to get used to it. And you're not going to calm down, and you're not going to be able. It's the the Nike just do it kind of philosophy. At some point, you put yourself in there.
That's fair. And you do see a lot of people that spend their first year on tour where they're qualifying over and over again. Maybe they put up an occasional top 50 performance and pick up one invite without having to go back to the PTQs. But then they get used to it and they get comfortable and they start to put up better results year 2, year 3. I mean, that seems like the typical career path almost.
Sure. I mean, I'm really hoping that for a lot of the young American players who were playing in their first couple of Pro Tours this weekend, who were doing really well. I'm hoping to see these guys coming back to the Pro Tour and seeing them continue to do well and build that experience up. And
it's the pattern you saw from the Japanese players.
And also build the network up, right? Like it's not just, it's also getting exposed to better players who, and building up a network and building up communication. All right, well, we're underway here.
Yeah.
Cool.
The Detravor Mountain is in play for Mark.
Got it in a hurry. Turn 2 lands from Wapatapa.
Cool.
Is that a careful consideration from Herbert Holtz? Yes, it is. He's going to try to fix up his hand.
Is it tight?
Seemed willing to lose it to cancel.
Cool.
Oh, sure.
Taps out. He's like, what is Guillaume going to do to me? This is one of those places where, okay, he knows the deck list. Nothing horrible is going to happen.
No, horrible things don't happen until there's about 32 mana in play here.
I think Guillaume takes the opportunity for a careful consideration of his own. He needs a lens for the second blue mana, but he's got it.
Mark has the much heralded Academy Ruins in hand. He's considering pitching a Triskelevis to the careful consideration. And another careful consideration. Keeping a handful of action.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like he's going to want to commit that Academy Ruins to the board until after he's found a way to deal with the any potential Detritivores out there. Both players are moving pretty warily here. Suspend an Aeon Chronicler. Looks like for 2. And Mark Herberholz has got the pull from Eternity ready. And puts that in the graveyard. He's still got another pull ready in case case the Tridivore shows up, although the Tridivore is not looking like it would be terribly harmful to Mark at this point, just one land, but every land counts in these battles, right?
Absolutely.
And there is the Tridivore. So Wafatapa felt it was safe to suspend the Tridivore after, I guess, baiting it out with an Aeon Chronicler. Mark had the pull from Eternity, but he doesn't know that Mark is sitting on another one. And it's really use it or lose it on his white source there, right? Doesn't have the mana to defend it. Had to even use an extra mana. I don't think he has any red sources. Had to get that through a lens. Mark doesn't have to do anything till his own turn, though. Looks like he's going to Mystical Teachings for an extirpate.
Ah. What does he extirpate here?
Let's see, what is here?
Get rid of Triskelavus. Get that thing out of here. I'm tired of losing to it.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Gone.
Wafatapa is like, we know that's the only one. Didn't even show his hand to Mark. Mark's like, I still want to see it.
So what all's in his hand?
Looks like
Teferi, couple cancels, Teachings, and some card between the Teachings and the Teferi.
Just one in the deck, right?
Sudden death.
Did you change your sideboard at all between games 2 and 3? Yeah. You did?
So Mark's got to do a little research here. There was some sideboarding that went on.
Seems like Waffle Top has been playing games with the exact count of Tendrils versus Sudden Death.
Okay. I'm sure Mark took diligent note of that. Once again, though, he did see the Mystical Teachings in Wafatapa's hand, so once again, we could see Wafatapa Teachings back and extirpates.
Good. Meanwhile, Mark's got to pull the Tridivore, right? Defend his white
I
source?
think he has to. He doesn't have a lot of mana here.
Right. Yep. Uses the lens.
Right, makes a lens, uses the mana, filters mana through the lens. Seems to me Mark would really like to catch that Mystical Teachings
In the graveyard?
in the graveyard, flashback, get another extirpate.
Well, Mark charges up, so yeah, Guillaume's going to take the opportunity and Teferi. I thought he might have gone for the extirpate plan there, but I guess not.
Cards?
The pit crew just restocked us with Diet Cokes. I'm very
Apparently
happy.
more were found. Thought we'd clean the building out.
Go.
Herberholz takes 3 from Teferi.
Sure.
Flashes back to Teachings. Wants to get it the hell out of his graveyard, I think.
Okay.
Teachings for Teachings. Puts it right back in.
No, this
No,
was
it's
hand.
just hand. That's right.
So that list of top cards played, that's going to be on the website?
I believe so. Yes.
What else is going on? Most played colored card was indeed Sulfur Elemental, followed by Cancel. And then Damnation.
So main deck cards that were in the top 50 that there were one-ofs:
Yeah.
White Mane Lion, Vesuva, Venerian Glimmer, Stonewood Evocation, Sedge Sliver, Sacred Mesa, Pulmonic Sliver, Psionic Sliver, Might Sliver, Jadet Ojanin of Fravra,
Wow.
1 Gemstone Caverns, 1 Flagstones of Trocaire, 1 Firewake Sliver, 1 Body Double. There were 3 Stone Cloakers in the top 50.
Okay.
Just take a look at
Mystical
some of the...
Teachings from Wafutapa. Goes for, what is that? Is that Haunting Him?
There were 7 Calciderms, 8 Sarah Avengers. So there were 2 White Weenie decks in the top 50.
Yep. Fully 4% of the field. And one of them was 50th, I hear.
I gotta.
Anti-Malin was in 50th. I wonder who the top placing White Weenie guy was then. Some one guy in the top 50.
Yet another
One guy in the top 49.
Yet another money finish for Anti Malin.
True.
Just 3.
All right, well.
What? Go.
Teferi getting the job done. Got Herbert Holtz down to 11 now. Flash a stack of teachings.
Go.
Gets that sudden death.
Get sudden death, yeah.
Won't be able to cast it till next turn. Teferi takes me down to 8. Sudden death does kill Teferi.
Go.
No Urborg Tree the player yet, so they,
No, you still
Mark has to work. Mark has to work pretty hard to get a second black.
Off the top of his hand is a Tendrils, an Orborg, and that's it.
Go.
Heezy's hand also pretty thin. Careful consideration off the top for Guillaume.
Oh,
Wow.
Mark had himself a Draining Welk.
Draining Welk on careful consideration. That's a big threat. Oh, there's the Tendrils. And he's got the Cancel. Hello. 5/5 flyer. Crunch. Guillaume literally out of cards.
Was Mark lurking?
And there's careful consideration.
Mark was really lurking in the weeds on that, wasn't he? Didn't he?
It's like a Tendrils in 3 land.
You know, you pointed out that he didn't look defeated earlier.
Yeah.
But he also didn't look like he was winning. I mean, look at him now.
Now he's winning. But wasn't winning until he won the... Didn't tip his hand. But very proud. Strutting a little bit at this point, I think. Guillaume's got about 3 turns to come up with an answer to a 5/5 flying Draining Welk. Draws Detritivore.
What? I sudden death to Teferi. no one's allowed to respond to that.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Mark's explaining the rules to head judge Sheldon Menery there.
Not sure what the.
I'm not sure what that is. Sheldon seemed pretty clear on how sudden death and Teferi worked. Wow, the Tredivore is only going to get better in block with the addition of those new lands.
There's a lot of sexy dual lands in Future Sight. Off the top and down to 10.
No cards? No.
Well, looks like Mark's going to search up a careful consideration and restock, or is he going to get a cancel and just have an insurance policy against empty-handed opponent? Nope. It's going to be extirpate.
Bigger tendrils.
Extirpates the tendrils. Trying to get rid of answers to 5/5 flyer.
Because sudden death's not going to do it.
Okay.
It's a 5/5. Easy feeling pretty good about this game.
Cool.
What's going on?
I don't know. I saw Sheldon talking with
Awkward.
so,
Go. Sure.
all right. Wafa's fallen to 5 from 3 hits from the draining welk. Takes out a storage land, and Mark redistributes the counter on 2 more.
Guillaume's got to deal with that guy.
Sudden death will buy him a turn. If he has it.
Smashy, smashy. 1/1 draining welk to jump block.
Before blockers.
Sudden death. There goes the jump. No jump blocking for you. Mark Herberholz is on the board. Wins game 3 of this semifinal. Guillaume Wafutapa still leads, but now his lead is 2-1. Guillaume won the first 2 in the quarterfinals. Managed to lose game 3 and game 4. Paulo Carvalho took him to a tough 5th game. Had to scare him a little bit. I asked Guillaume about that over lunch. He just kind of shrugged. I get the feeling Guillaume does that a lot.
They get some.
Eh.
Yeah, he didn't seem. I mean, he was worried about this matchup, but he didn't seem that concerned. There's nothing he could do.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bad matchup. Yeah. You get any predictions on the forums how the semis are going to play out?
I'm looking.
So the question I had
Oh,
was,
here's Sheldon.
did somebody have Teferi in play
Yeah.
and the other player respond to something?
I don't think so.
Because one of the Japanese guys out on the floor came up to me and said, because I was walking across he said he was watching the coverage. He thought that there was an extirpate in response to something, and with Teferi in play. No. No?
It might have been response to Teferi, but I don't.
Teferi on the stack.
Yeah, I don't think it was while it was in play.
Okay. Fine. Good. All right.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like any game we were watching.
Nope. No, Teferi came down, attacked 4 times, and then easy main phase.
Yeah, Mark
got
took,
out of
Mark,
sudden death.
in fact, Mark had to take 2
Teferi in
turns
play.
Yeah.
to get to the point where he could sudden death it. You know, he's like, I got a mystical teachings on my turn, tapping out,
Yeah.
get the sudden death, untap, and then sudden death.
What was the? I mean, there was an extirpate in there somewhere. Before,
No, he
earlier.
extirpated after that and before that.
You had 4 cards in hand plus the
Yeah, oh, yeah, I
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're totally right.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you want to grab Sheldon then?
Were we just not paying attention either?
guess
No,
not.
no. I extirpated in response to haunting him with Teferi in play. Yeah. Okay.
Game
Yeah.
player, and we'll continue on. Well, obviously we won't change
Okay.
anything. Okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Was that this game?
Maybe it happened while we were not watching.
All
Earlier.
right, I'm going to put away the list of top 50 cards.
Too
Obviously,
distracting.
bad things happen when I look at it. I'm sorry. I guess we can be forgiven if we didn't notice it. Neither player noticed it either.
That's true. What we really need is Sheldon looking over the tapes again.
Well, we've got Sheldon looking over a computer right now.
Oh, he's typing on Perverholtz's warning. Perverholtz gets a warning for a procedural error there. But yeah, I mean, no way to go back and repair it. It's similar to which is very similar to the last situation, right? Kazuhiro Mori versus Frank Carson in that Worlds final.
Right.
Where both players missed the fact that, what was it? It was the White Dragon means skip untap, and then there was the Seedborn
Seedborn
use that would
use.
give you an extra untap.
Right. I remember we were thinking, oh, it doesn't work that way, does it? And then we're like, oh, it must work that way.
Yeah, it must work that way. But yeah, they got the interaction wrong. Sheldon went back to try to see if
Oh, right.
there was any evidence.
And we had the great behind-the-scenes shot of Sheldon looking over the videotape.
That's right. Yeah, they had gotten the interaction wrong, but it happened. The game ended, so they let the result stand.
It's funny. I've seen, people will talk about some of the mistakes that people make. And they're like, how could people be playing in the Pro Tour semifinal and, make a mistake like that? That's how,
Uh-huh.
These guys have been playing how many hours of Magic over the last 3 days?
A lot.
And, I mean, both of these players are playing, grueling control. Everybody makes mistakes when they play Magic, even at the highest levels. One of the things that I think is really interesting to me is the ability to sort of shrug those mistakes off and to not be invested in them. Mark Herbold was like, oh, yeah, I did make a mistake. What's wrong? What happens? And, there's nothing he could do about it. So, I don't know. I really admire the players who are able to work through their mistakes in this very kind of matter-of-fact way, hopefully learn from them, but I mean, the reality is everyone makes them. And I think you're probably more prone to make them after, something approaching 50 or 60 hours of Magic. So, looks like Randy just got an explanation from Sheldon.
Yeah, Sheldon just came over to make sure that it was clear to us and the viewers what had happened in that last match. It says basically the same way it would have worked in the Swiss rounds, right? I mean, there's no special rules for the top 8 at this point, so the players made a mistake.
You're gonna play?
There really was a response while Teferi was in play, so Herbert Holtz got the warning, just like it would have in the Swiss rounds. It happens. Funny part is, might have been a mistake made because the players were playing too quickly, but I think we're okay with that. So here we are off in Game 4. Guillaume Wafatapo leads 2-1. Needs to win one of the next two if he wants to go to the finals of this Pro Tour and play against Kazuya Mitamura.
You know, it's interesting that players who come out of the Grand Prix circuit, I wonder if they're able to do better early on in their Pro Tour experience than maybe a PTQ player.
Oh, because you get more training, multi-day event, lots of rounds.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
Higher level of rules enforcement. Yeah, you sort of get the rigors of a mini Pro Tour. There's the Academy ruins. Target acquired.
Careful consideration from Wafatapo.
Interesting to note the Triskelevis that Mark extirpated in the last game was discarded to a careful consideration by Wafatapo. Now, he exposed it. He made a decision about his hand early on in the game, knew he had an Academy ruins, that he was going to work with it later, and he exposed that card. So I don't know if that would have made how much of a difference that would have made in the game, but I wonder if it'll affect any of his decisions this game. He doesn't have a...
It looks like news of Katsuhiro Mori's suspension has hit the message boards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Katsu picked up a 6-month suspension effective at the end of this tournament due to accumulated warnings. So former world champ will be watching from the sidelines for a little while. Just a lot of sloppy play on his part. The way the system is set up, whether it was deliberate or whether it was accidental, pick up enough warnings for mistakes during gameplay, and it's the way the system works.
Wow. Will he... when does that suspension end?
Well, it's effective today, so what is that?
Does that make him eligible for World Championships?
Yeah, he gets to come back for Worlds. It sounds like that's how that works out. Detritivore suspended by Guillaume Wafatapo. Suspended for how many? Just the one. Enough to take out Heezy's one storage land.
And Aeon Chronicler was pulled.
Once again, Chronicler sort of baiting a path for the Detritivore. It sounds a little backwards to me, but like, wouldn't you just want to draw a bunch of cards and have a big Maro? Because the thing is that the Detritivore is so irrelevant when it's in play.
Right.
It's going to be a 1/1, whatever. Chronicler at least has the ability to hit hard, force the opponent to deal with it.
Did Mark just offer him a Nurse's Factory? Did he put up a sacrificial
Wow.
Nurse's Factory on the table?
He did.
Took the storage land instead.
That's really interesting. Huh. Wafatapo didn't fall for it. Yeah, he clearly must have wanted to keep the storage land. He added a blue man. Is he going to counter Detritivore?
Well, he knows there's multiples of them. Maybe he wants to extirpate it so he doesn't have to deal with another.
Oh. Looks like he's got a Dismal Failure in his hand, too. Might be fun to resolve that. Or at least make Wafatapo fight over something he doesn't care about. Now that looks like 6 mana. Does he have a Welk? No, he's just going to flashback Teachings. Okay. Which that gets Welked.
does not have
Oh,
any.
And Welk's got summoning sickness.
That's right, yeah.
Detritivore has haste, but not the Welk.
Careful consideration.
Careful consideration from Mark Herberholz, who has to find tendrils in a hurry.
Indeed.
The 5/5 draining Welk is on the other side of the table this time around.
Mark's hand has got some stuff going on. He's got a teachings,
This might not
dismal
have,
failure, extirpate,
this might not have
land.
time.
Do you think he was right to flash back that teachings right there?
Yep. 13. Oh, straight. So.
I don't know if he can play around the Welk there or not.
$20 to 11.
Spend another Detritivore.
Mark's got a grip full of cards, but there's no Orberg anywhere, right?
No,
He's only got the one swamp.
he needs both tendrils and Urborg here.
He's got a teachings.
And that doesn't even get him the, that just keeps him in the game.
Right. Second swamp.
Go.
Wafatapa charges up a storage lane. The new Detritivore takes down an Urza's factory.
He gets them both anyway.
Yep. Easy floats some mana. And then cast Dismal Failure on the Detritivore. Is that Urborg that got discarded?
Discards an Urborg.
Funny. That certainly does not want to help out Herberholz. Smash. The Detritivore is up to 2/2, right? So that's 7 damage, dropping Mark to 4. Mark takes the opportunity to extirpate his own Terramorphic Expanses.
Yep. He wants to maximize his ability to draw a Tendrils of Corruption next turn.
Yeah. He has to draw a runner, right?
I believe he's actually holding the Urborg.
Oh, okay. Well, he's got Mystical Teachings in his hand, but he doesn't have time. That Dismal Failure, I guess he had to Dismal Failure because the other Detritivore is just... He has to deal with those creatures one at a time, right? Presumably he sideboarded out all of his damnations.
Right. Everyone checks to make sure you can extirpate yourself.
And lands.
Double checks to
specifically.
make sure there's no Teferis in play.
That looked like an island. There it is. Guillaume Wafotapa with a quick draining Welk. Turn 5, he just Welked the Mystical Teachings. And that's all she wrote. Guillaume Wafotapa wins 3 games to 1. He'll be taking on Kazuya Mitamura for the Pro Tour Yokohama title.
It's Drownu versus Pickles.
It is Drownu versus Pickles. That's the matchup, Drownu versus Pickles. Mark Herberholz was thought to have the advantage in this matchup. Didn't seem like he necessarily did anything wrong, but I mean, Guillaume gave himself a chance. He built that deck. He stuck in the Triskelevis. That got the job done, and then he picked up a lucky win in Game 4. Just the timing worked out that he had the Welk, and Herberholz couldn't come up with the answer. Wow. All right.
Guillaume did not think he was going to take more than one game in this match.
What do you think of, we've also got the whole European-American thing going on, right? American players in general are always convinced that they have an outstanding matchup and they should destroy all of their opponents.
I'm talking about Guillaume.
And Guillaume, most European players will tell you
Okay.
that, even when they're playing awesome, even when they have a great advantage, they still tend to see it as, who knows, it could go either way. You just don't see that kind of arrogance or cockiness out of the European players.
Right.
And, I mean, Guillaume, soft-spoken even for a European.
Absolutely.
Nice to see you again.
Hey, everybody. How you holding up?
Pretty good match at getting played.
Yeah.
What do you think of Guillaume versus Kazuya?
Well, I hate to make predictions. All the predictions have been turned on their ears so far, right?
Yeah, the guys in the forums are telling you you're awful.
Yeah, well, that happens.
How does the pickles fare up against the teachings? These are the two different takes on black-blue control.
I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to, what everyone is telling me now is they're saying that Mitamura has the best matchup. He said this is, again, both the blue-black players are like, we don't want to face Mitamura, so right. I'm gonna pick Guillaume Wafatapa.
I think he's got a shot too. I think it's going to be interesting. We get to see the two different takes on blue-black control. Now with those guys playing in the finals, that's going to be the sort of the read on the format going into the PTQ round. I mean, I think the format's a lot more complicated. It's not like these control decks are obviously the best, but a couple different takes on an interesting archetype. We'll be right back in about 5 minutes with the Pro Tour Yokohama finals.
We're here at Pro Tour Yokohama at the pre-release with